Michelle Beckham-Corbin, president of C3 Creating Connections Consulting, a social media consulting firm.
And I'm Mark Macomber, president of Macomber Creations, and welcome to our show,
Digitally Speaking. For those of you who watched our last show, we were talking about Twitter. And not only did we talk about some of the news stories that made a splash in 2013, but we also talked about some of the ways that you all can use Twitter for your business. We took a look at the language of Twitter, or the symbols, depending on how you want to call them, symbols or language. And we really took a look at how you can use Twitter for marketing.
Twitter.
Yes.
It's hot.
It is hot. And actually, Twitter has an app for your phone, which leads us into today's show, Mark. We're going to talk about mobile apps.
Mobile apps, one of my very favorite things.
Because they're so much fun.
And then you're not attached to anything. It's just, you have that perfect detachment, yet you have access to everything. It's still another one of those great things about the digital world where, you can have everything and eat it too.
Well, it's true. Up to the point of your storage ability, right?
Storage ability, yeah.
What I love about mobile apps is, the emphasis on that word mobile, that you truly can take tools or games or entertainment, whatever is important to you, everywhere you go. Which I guess the flip side could be that maybe that's not so good. Because
depends.
And we're not unplugged, right?
We never unplug.
We're at this 24/7 kind of information potentially overload situation. But I personally love it. But that's me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the disciplines that you get into, and we've chatted in the past about the digital world, the ability to be able to connect so incredibly well now to everything, and it's the power you have though is you can unplug, and it's a discipline to say, okay, enough already. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm done. I'm going to bed. And this is my true story from last night. 2 o'clock. I'm going to bed. I've got a long day tomorrow, and I'm having a ball. It's great time and everything. I'm being productive, but then I get a little rest. But so it's nice to unplug, and that's just one of the things. But with all this, I'll get off on a bit of a sidetrack. With the Olympics, it's been great to watch all the tweeting going on with the Olympics, and all the current comments about everybody just being really supportive, and it's a really cool thing. That tweeting has allowed a lot of people to be able to be super supportive. How else do you get a message to the athletes, or how do you get to respond to all this stuff? And some of the big networks have been doing a great job in keeping us really connected to the Olympics. And I've noticed with this particular Olympics, it's a real difference. And it's given people even another level of engagement. So this digital world has afforded us a lot of really new perspective on things.
Truly new perspective, and I love the glimpse into the world of the Winter Olympics this year. Not only from the tweets that the athletes themselves are sharing, about their own personal experiences, but also, when we talk about apps, photo sharing apps that people can use to share, some of the conditions at the Winter Olympics. So I know in the very beginning there were some kind of shocking pictures with about hotels and buildings not quite ready, not quite ready for the world to be.
Especially some of the bathrooms, no shower curtain.
That's what I was thinking about.
They forgot to put the window in our bathroom. Well, you'll get a window eventually. What do you need a window for? You're in a bathroom.
Well, and that is the benefit of real-time social media in terms of, they're taking these pictures, they're sharing this information as it's happening, and we can consume that immediately. So we, down to the minute, we know what's going on. So yeah,
we need that information faster. We need it now. If I sit and find myself, if something takes more than a nanosecond to download, I'm getting antsy and anxious and going, come on already, I got stuff to do here. You're holding me up.
Oh gosh.
It's funny. Faster.
Well, kind of following along that line of thinking, what I wanted to share with our viewers are a couple of must-have apps for 2014. And, if you search the internet, there are tons of lists. Everybody's got their own, list of what they think are the best apps. And the reason there are so many lists is because there are thousands of apps out there.
Yeah.
So many to choose from. But I was really kind of impressed with the list that laptopmag.com, so Laptop Magazine, came up with. So I'd like to share a couple of those. They say that, or they recommend for news, an app called Pulse, Pulse. And Pulse really brings in all of the different news feeds into one place so that you can consume your RSS feeds all at one spot. And I believe that I read just this morning that LinkedIn has purchased Pulse. So they've got, and that's actually probably for another show, but LinkedIn is moving to a situation where they're opening their publishing platform for everyone. So having said that, right now, and I don't know if you've seen this on LinkedIn or not, and it is on the LinkedIn mobile app too, so that's why I'm bringing this up, but LinkedIn has what they call influencers. So when you're in your activity feed or news feed on LinkedIn, you may see a lot of blogs or articles from kind of key people in certain industries. Those are influencers. LinkedIn had tapped certain folks to be kind of the important people for that industry. And now they're opening it up to everyone. So you could write about music, I could write about social media, and potentially, have our articles be featured for the world. But in any event, I know Pulse is tied into that in some way. In terms of cloud apps, they recommend Dropbox, which I personally use. I think you use Dropbox too.
Sure.
And Dropbox is a great app. It allows you to store large amounts of information, files, photos, etc., out in the cloud. And what I love about it is it allows you to share that information with other people. I use that with ACTV. So if I have files that I need to send to the folks in the studio, and they're might be heavy files, maybe image files for our show.
Big images, yeah.
I put them in Dropbox, I email the link to that particular file, and they pull it down themselves. So that's a wonderful time saver. Now, I can't really relate to this, Mark, I don't know, maybe if you can, but they say that in their estimation, the best game for 2014 is The Walking Dead Season 2.
I'm sorry. I'm at a total loss. I don't have time for games, and I barely have time for television. It's hard to say, but I don't play games very often. But I do know some gamer types that just love that stuff, and they're glued to it. Unfortunately, usually when I have that kind of time on my hands, I'm back to work doing something that kind of more fits my creative gaming, if you will. But no, it's amazing. I've looked at those, and I actually have some friends that are programmers that do gaming and music for gaming, that actually write, and they do all of the interactive music for these games. These guys have been very, very successful over the last decade or so, and even longer when the gaming industry started really getting huge. Guys that were rock and rollers decided, hey, they got more into production, they got into their own little studios, and they started writing music specifically for the gaming industry, and basically have retired at a very young age because they did well at it. It's a really interesting angle. But needless to say, I unfortunately haven't gotten really into the game stuff. I was just showing you an app that we'll talk about in a little bit. That's my kind of gaming.
Your game,
That's my kind of stuff. So
right, and I'll share with everyone later my personal
your favorites.
obsession.
Yeah.
But when you do want to kind of get away from the game apps, one app that can help you physically is MyFitnessPal. So they say that is absolutely the best fitness app from their perspective. Best music app, I would love to hear what you think about this. They say Spotify. Have you used Spotify?
Spotify's great. There's some amazing applications for music. It's when, I shouldn't say brand names, but when there's a specific satellite radio came online, it was great because in your car you could dial down to any station. If you want to listen to the Beatles station or the Rolling Stones station, etc., And Spotify just has the ability to, and there's quite a few others. I mean, Pandora has been a great, there's a lot of great ones where you can just dial in whatever you're in the mood for. I want to listen to British Invasion, boom, there it is, the whole channel of nothing but British Invasion, and you can listen to all that, or classical or anything else. And that's really great, because if you don't have the time to build your own iTunes library, you know,
time or money.
Time or money, depending on how you do it. That these are really great to be able to listen, and it's a streaming kind of feature where you just, anytime you want to listen to something specifically, it's always there. So
I love Pandora. Absolutely.
It's a great way to listen to music and just have it going all the time. If you're in a work mode, that you can do that. You can just be playing something in the background. It won't affect what you're doing and your focus and concentration. It's just great stuff.
That's what I do when I'm working. I have several different types of classical channels, but that's what I listen to.
Yeah.
I can't have lyrics
Too much.
And yeah,
no rap music for you.
No. No. Now, best TV video app, Netflix, and I have to make this announcement. We had never used Netflix up until this Christmas, when a family member gave us a little gadget. I think it was called Chromecast or something.
Yeah, Chromecast.
That that allows you to be
Plug
able
it
to
in.
watch. So prior to that, we kind of avoided the whole Netflix thing, because again, we don't
Sure.
have a lot of time to watch shows.
Right.
Oh boy, I got addicted to a show. It was called, or it actually is called, Orange is the New Black. It's about women in prison.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, before Netflix,
Oh, my Lord.
I just was,
Yeah.
busy in the evenings doing my thing, addicted to my one app game. But now I'm addicted to this series that I don't have to wait until next week to see the next episode. I can just kind of keep going through the episodes. So I'm pulling myself away now that show is over for me.
Good discipline.
Yes, no more Netflix. But very popular app. These guys say so. Obviously, we know that just from everybody thinks Netflix
Sure.
is a great app.
Netflix is cool. Hulu is cool. Now they're actually becoming almost full-blown subscriptions, where you can just buy different levels. I think what I've seen, and this is interesting, it's a little jump back to what started taking place a few years ago in the building industry, was that we were starting to get into certain types of renovations and building of new homes when the smart technology was starting to come online. So the automation and the integration of everything, where you could wire everything in. At that time, you were wiring everything in with Cat5 wiring, and integrating heating and air conditioning systems and lighting systems and security systems and music systems. And I remember there was a guy we worked with who was an ex-Intel engineer, programmer, and took an early retirement, started a company that just specialized in coming in. It was an integration of all the sound systems, audio, video, everything, and everything could be wired. And he had touch screens that you could basically, this was some years ago, do everything with. So the whole integration of the digital world into your living, it's even gotten crazier now because everything's wireless.
Yes.
So you don't have to pull lines within the walls. You can now, everything can be done with Wi-Fi throughout the entire house. And some of the new incredible sound systems, you've seen some of the ads maybe recently on some of the great sound systems for what you can do in your house, and the integration of video and music, and it's pretty cool.
It
really is pretty cool, and it doesn't take that much. It's not expensive, and it can be done with common technology that we have all the time. So it's pretty cool. I mean,
and the key thing is really knowing about it, right?
Right.
So it's awareness. But
Yep.
we're very, fortunate to be living in a time where we can take advantage of all of these technological advances.
So hot new apps.
Yeah, another one, and I've used this, although I have to say I haven't used it quite so much in the past 6 months, but Evernote, which is a wonderful tool for taking notes. You're doing a lot of research, you're coming across a lot of websites and things that you want to keep track of. You can put it all in Evernote and then access it from anywhere.
Yeah.
Best productivity app for the office is an app called Quick Office, which kind of makes sense. And best photo app, they have Snapseed, which is one that I'm not familiar with. but that's one that they like a lot. And best messaging app, an app called WhatsApp. So that's another new one for me.
WhatsApp?
It's called WhatsApp.
I've actually started using WhatsApp some time ago because it was a free, it was for, at the time, texting when it first came out was fairly expensive. If you didn't buy the big unlimited package, and I wasn't texting a lot, so it was a free app. Download WhatsApp, you could text anyone up to a certain degree, and they weren't charging you by the character or by the size of the files. And used it for quite some time, and there were quite a few people I knew that were using it. So, and I was traveling a lot, so it seemed to be
a good one for
But
you.
it's been around for a while, and that's a pretty cool app for that, for the texting world, and helps build your thumbs.
Yep, had not come across my radar before, but as I mentioned, there are thousands of apps out there, and I think it would be tough to keep track of all of them. Let's talk about some of your favorite apps that you use.
Well, I'm still, just plugging along with my old standards, but there is one that's my absolute favorite. It's my
face is lighting up.
It's my toy. Well, it's it's who I am and what I do. But I'm sure everyone's heard of GarageBand. But GarageBand is basically a virtual recording studio in your little iPad, or you can actually get a larger version of it for your computer. It comes with a lot of Mac systems. It's just automatic.
It comes loaded.
It comes loaded. It's one of the things that often you can get, and it's a very inexpensive app to buy, and you can get different versions of it. But essentially, it's a virtual recording studio in an application. It comes with virtual instruments. Drums, basses, guitars, synthesizers, organs, pianos. There's more instruments. You would have to be almost a full-blown composer to get bored with just what they give you as the standard. And it basically is like a lot of the DAW-based recording programs, in as much as that you can go ahead and record complete compositions, however long you want to do them, and layer instrument over instrument over instrument. And there are little interfaces that you can even get to if you want to get more complicated and use better microphones. So now you start to sing, instead of using the little condenser that's built in, you can actually find a little interface where you can start plugging in higher quality microphones, interfaces with instruments that you may already own. If you want to you don't want to play guitar on the pad, you can actually start integrating other instruments into it. And and I can't remember for the life of me, but there have been some artists, some recording artists, writers, who have done full-blown albums on GarageBand just to show what kind of quality that you can get with it. It's stunning.
That's fascinating.
Because these are all samples of real instruments. So when you hear the string sections or the organs, they're actually sampling these great instruments, and it's unbelievable what you can do with it. You can just I use it as a tool for composing or sketching up songs, or if I have, all of a sudden I wake up with some epiphany and go, oh, quick, I got to get this idea down before I forget it. And it's a great way to pull something up and go, oh yeah, here's a melody line. I don't want to get out of my head, because I know tomorrow I'll forget it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So it's kind of like the musical version from that perspective of Evernote, right? In Evernote, maybe you've got some thoughts that you want to jot down, and you can go save them in Evernote.
Yeah, it is.
And you've got some musical pieces that you want to save,
yes,
and then you can save it on GarageBand.
It's unbelievable. It's so much fun. And for those who physically don't have the ability to play a specific instrument, there are a couple different ways that you can do it. Let's say, I'll use the example of a piano. If you don't actually know how to physically play the piano, there's a keyboard that you can actually physically play. But if you can't, there's a version of it where they will just give you a bar tab, and I was showing you that with the strings. You certainly can't play a violin. Right. So they give you the ability to use a slide bar, and if you tap it, it sounds like you're plucking the instrument. If you slide or use your finger on it, it sounds like the string is being bowed.
Right, right.
So don't need to know how to play a violin. You sound really, really good just running your finger back and forth in front of the thing. And likewise, guitars, they do the same thing with guitars. So if you don't physically know the fingering or the chording, you can still pluck or play guitar just by strumming the board that they give you. So a lot goes a long way.
Yeah, that just sounds, that's got me really fascinated. I definitely want to look
It's like
at
a reality game, better than the Guitar Hero and the ones that the kids always play. You know, if you've ever watched how those work, the kids are actually just playing the colors based on it. So they're learning rhythm, they're learning some things, but they're not actually learning the real notations. And now some of the newer versions of some of those are coming out where they're actually teaching you how to actually play the instrument, starting to teach you scales, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really cool hybrid of a learning mechanism for kids or anybody, for that matter, to learn music, learn theory, learn all this stuff. So that's it's not a new app. GarageBand's been around for quite some time, and kind of started out as a poor man's recording studio before you made the leap to Pro Tools, which is a huge DAW-based recording, system. But it's a great way for anybody who just digs music and wants to be able to say, hey, I want to write a Valentine's Day song for my girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to do it, and
that's neat.
Send it off. Pretty hit. So what's your hot?
Well, being that I'm in the social media business, I use a lot of apps. And I tend to categorize them in terms of kind of apps that I use every day for the business, right? So taking your typical platforms, your Facebook, your Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, et cetera. I use all of those platforms. I use the app versions of those on my iPad and on my phone. And then, then I've got another series of apps that are really helpful for me when I travel. So whether it's going to a city and wanting to figure out a great restaurant, I'll check out Yelp for the reviews. I'll use Foursquare just to see quickly, especially if I'm traveling, although I'm not the one driving while I'm doing this. But while we are traveling, using Foursquare just to see what type of lunch spot might be coming up in the next couple of miles. And Waze, W-A-Z-E, which is really kind of cool. It's traffic alerts. So if you're stuck in traffic, you can, if you're stopped, or the person next to you who's not driving, can kind of report in that there's an accident at I-275 at this point, and traffic's at a standstill. And so as you're traveling behind that traffic accident, you can kind of be notified immediately, that there's a problem. So
nothing like being plugged in for that.
Well, and I have to say, they have voice activation. So don't think that all of these traffic folks are, typing while they're driving. It is voice activated. But I did promise that I would share my addiction.
Yes.
And my addiction is for the King game Candy Crush Saga.
Okay.
And I have to say, a lot of people know about Candy Crush, highly, highly addictive. And I meant to pull down some stats, and I hope I did. Yes, I did. The King company is going public, okay? And so because they filed for the IPO, obviously the news, the media now has access to kind of their details, their information. So what I wanted to share was this company with the Candy Crush Saga game, they've got 128 million daily active users.
Wow.
The people who play their game play more than 1.2 billion times a day.
Good Lord.
That's why I'm setting the stage so you can see why I'm so obsessed when I share how often I play this.
Yeah.
And it began on Facebook, and then moved off into the mobile apps, and it's just huge. So for perspective, last year the company pulled in $568 million in profit off of $1.9 billion in revenue.
Good Lord.
That's one successful game. An app.
No kidding. Maybe we're in the wrong business. Well, you can design your own apps, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't followed on that, you can. Michelle, she's probably thought about it, whether she's had time to do it or not.
Well, actually, I've worked with a lot of clients who have designed their own apps in terms of helping them with the marketing aspect. So Cincinnati actually is a great startup community for people that really want to get into the mobile app business. There are a lot of folks that are working on it here. But I have to say, with the Candy Crush Saga, I play that game every day.
Yeah.
So it's right before I go to bed for about 15 minutes, or more if I'm stuck. And if anybody wants to help me out and tweet to me or to the station, I'm stuck on level 140. And I've been stuck there for weeks. I need help. But anyway.
So here's the real question.
Yeah.
What is the longest length of time that you've been engaged with that game?
Well, this is why they're making money. What happens is, after so many tries or a certain period of time, you're kind of kicked off the game.
They give you the boot?
Unless you're going to pay. So you pay to continue. So if you're really addicted, that's how they're making their money.
Yeah.
So I am very disciplined. I have been able to pull myself away. Although there are also tricks on how you can reset the time.
Uh-oh.
But I won't go there.
Now, you can't give all those tips away. You got to keep some trade secrets at some point, too. You know, they can call you and say, hey, Michelle, what's the hot tip on how we crack the code, you know?
Right, but I just walk away. I figure when my time's up, that's just kind of the message, you know, from the world above that I need to move on to something else. And I just want to say my second big obsession is College Confidential. And that app has just been, it's just, College Confidential is a website, and the app is just access to their content. But it's just been wonderful for me in navigating the whole college admissions process.
Yes.
So I'm a faithful reader of that one.
And probably a really, really helpful tool with parents who have kids that are getting ready to start applying for college and managing all of that. I can imagine in this day and age is a lot. So what an amazing digital world we have out there, and really excited about all the change and all the apps and everything, and what, again, great tools all of these things are for all of us to have ready access to. So it's all a matter of the time that you want to spend educating yourself, and hopefully we're providing some of that education here at Digitally Speaking. And Michelle is such a great expert. She brings all this great stuff to the table, and as always, I'm so interested in all this stuff and how I can apply it in my own world, business-wise and personally, that you know, we're going to continue on with some great stuff and some new hot topics for our next show.
Yes, I think next month we probably will be talking about visual media and maybe focus on Instagram and Vine and talk about what is video doing for our world today.
Hot stuff. So if you want to stay in touch and keep your finger on the pulse, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in to Digitally Speaking in our next episode. And on behalf of Michelle and myself and ACTV, thanks for joining us today, and hope to see you next time.